Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. In the previous lecture, we did all about debt. We saw encasing review committee recommendations. We saw what are the recommendations, what are the, we saw all about fiscal policy. We saw why revenue expenditure increasing is important. We saw why capital expenditure is also, revenue receipt increasing is important. We saw why capital expenditure is important because it is normally asset creating expenditure. Then there are two types of capital expenditure: debt creating capital receipts and uh, uh, okay, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We have almost reached, or we have reached the end of the fiscal policy chapter. Very good, right? We started with basic understanding of receipts and expenditure. Then we understood what are the types of receipts and expenditure: revenue receipts, capital receipts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Then we saw that revenue receipts are capital receipts are debt creating capital receipts and non-debt creating capital receipts. Then we saw capital expenditures are very important because they are usually asset creating capital expenditure, right? Then we also saw in the starting, we saw what are the types of deficits: revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, primary deficit, effective revenue deficit. What is revenue deficit? Can we recollect what is revenue deficit? Can we recall what is revenue deficit? Think. You have done it in the earlier lectures, 2 lectures or 3 lectures ago. But what do you think is revenue deficit? Revenue deficit is nothing but revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. What is fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is total expenditure, total expenditure minus revenue receipts bracket mein plus non-debt creating capital receipts. So you find out the total borrowing requirements of the government, be it state government, be it central government. Then we saw what is effective revenue deficit. Effective means revenue deficit minus grants to states for creation of capital assets. Then we saw primary deficit. Primary deficit is nothing but fiscal deficit minus interest payment on earlier loans or interest on loans, right? Then we also calculated a few deficits. Then we saw all about debt. We saw debt to GDP ratio kitna hona chahiye. We saw encasing review committee recommendations. What were the chief recommendations of encasing review committee? Independent fiscal council hona chahiye, right? Then I think you remember that debt to GDP ratio should be less than 60%, 40% for center, 20% for states. So it is 20% taken for all states together. So center 40% and all states taken together 20% of their state GDP. Okay. Then what else? What else did we see in fiscal policy? There are so many things we saw: fiscal stimulus, fiscal consolidation, fiscal drag, fiscal cliff. We saw so many things. Okay. So now when we have reached the end of fiscal policy, you must be realizing that fiscal policy may the key factor or the most important factor is increasing, or how can you reduce your fiscal deficit. That is the way, right? Because fiscal deficit increase hota hai, then borrowings increase hote hai, then crowding out happens, then rate goes up, then investment goes down, then consumption goes down. So many things happen wrong. बहुत सारी चीजें गलत होती है. So many things happen. What to do? What is the chief source of your receipts? So capital receipts means if you go for increasing debt creating capital receipt, it is a burden on you. Capital receipts means if you go for non-debt creating capital receipts, for example, disinvestment, there is a limit for that and it has strategic importance also. You cannot, just for the purpose of reducing fiscal deficit, you cannot go on disinvesting because it has strategic interest also. उसमें strategic interest भी आ गया. क्या बचा है? What is remaining? Revenue receipts. Now, when revenue receipts are remaining, what are the major factors in revenue receipts? So, revenue receipts, I hope you know, they can be divided into tax receipts and non-tax receipts. Non-tax में क्या आता है? User charges, fees, penalties, fines, etc. But that also has very small base. कितना होगा ना fees and fines? How much? What is the major juicy, major chunk of tax revenue? कितना है? That we are going to see here. Okay, what is the major chunk of tax revenue? So let me welcome you to a very brand new fresh chapter, taxation. Right? We know something about taxation, do we not? What do we know about taxation? We had started taxation just thoda sa in the previous lecture. What do we know about taxation? We know some basic things we know: direct tax and indirect tax. There are two major types of taxes. We also saw the why they are called direct tax, why they are called indirect tax. They are called direct tax because the incidence and burden can be shifted or cannot be shifted. Incidence and burden cannot be shifted in case of direct tax. In case of indirect tax, what can be shifted? Incidence can be shifted or burden can be shifted. Only burden can be shifted. Incidence so government is putting on that person only. Ki bhai, you are there, we are going to collect tax from you. Now you want to recover it from someone else, that is your headache, that is your problem, you can do it. In case of indirect taxes. In case of direct taxes, we saw incidence and burden lie on the same person. In case of indirect taxes, we saw incidence lies on one person, burden also initially lies on him. He passes on the burden, he shifts the burden to someone else and recovers the tax. Right? So we are going to start with direct taxes today. There will be separate lectures on indirect taxes. Direct taxes, why they are called direct taxes? Because incidence and burden cannot be shifted. Can incidence be shifted? See, incidence can never be shifted even in indirect taxes. Okay, incidence cannot be shifted, burden cannot be shifted. They are called as direct taxes. They are taxes directly on you. Okay, right? Now always remember one thing, direct taxes are taxes on what you earn. Now we need to know the difference between two terms. There are two terms involved. One is your sales revenue. Second is your income. What is the difference between these two terms? क्या लगता है? What is the difference between these two terms? क्या लगता है? See, you let's say you started your own business, right? You are a doctor. You started your own profession. You started your own clinic. Patients come. Patients give you money. So per consultation you charge, let's say 500 rupees per consultation charges. 10 patients come in a day. 500 into 10, 5,000 rupees. That 5,000 rupees you got, you keep it with you. Yes or no? Very good. That 5,000 rupees, what is? It is your income or it is your revenue? Is it your income or is it your revenue? It is your revenue. Sir, why? Because out of that 5,000 rupees, you have to pay electricity bill. Out of that 5,000 rupees, you have to pay for medical supplies. Out of that 5,000 rupees, you have to pay rent of your clinic. Out of that 5,000 rupees, you have to pay salary of ward boy or nurse or anyone. Out of that 5,000 rupees, you have to pay for some other medicines which you have kept there. What? So you calculate, you pay all of them and you calculate that you have 1,200 remaining with you per day. We are talking about one day. This 1,200 is your income. Is it not your purchasing power or your consumption power? 5,000 you cannot spend it anywhere else. You have previous obligations, electricity bharna hai, you have to pay for medicals, medicines and all. This 1,200 actually goes in your pocket, yes or no? Simple. Direct taxes are tax on this income. Direct taxes are taxes on this particular thing. Whatever is remaining after your kharcha. So now tell me, when your expenses increase, what will happen to your income? Will it reduce or will it increase? Your income will reduce. Absolutely, it will reduce. So when it reduces, tax will be more or tax will be less? Tax will be less. Okay? So we are going to see few taxes here. Right? The most famous one is income tax, obviously. Then comes wealth tax. Then comes corporation tax. Okay? These are the types of direct taxes. Should we start? Should we start income tax? It's big. I will take you through it. I will introduce you to income tax. Very, very, very nice topic. Interesting topic. Income tax. Right? But did you understand? Acha, when you are giving that 500 ka receipt to the patient, कि डॉक्टर है कंसल्टेशन चार्जेस 500 you are taking from the patient, उस पे you are applying GST, yes or no? Let's say 500 plus 50%, 50 rupees, 10% GST. वो GST इस पे लग रहा है. Do you notice that GST is put here and income tax is put here? GST is a direct tax or an indirect tax? GST is an indirect tax. Okay, GST is recovered from the patient ultimately, GST is recovered from the customer. So government will tell doctor to pay GST, but doctor will say I will not pay from my pocket, I will take from patient and I will pay it to you. Burden shift ho gaya. But this tax which is on your income, whatever you earn and whatever after spending, whatever is left with you to spend as per your own wish is called as income tax. ठीक है, you earn salary, right? You earn salary, everything. So salaried वालों के बहुत सारे खर्चे होते हैं. So income tax department says कि थोड़ा expenses minus करो, whatever is remaining is there in your account, we will tax that. It is tax on income. So let us begin with income tax. Let us begin with income tax. Income tax is governed by Income Tax Act. Income tax is governed by Income Tax Act 1961 and every act has some rules. See, act में आप एक एक चीज नहीं लिख सकते. You cannot write every small bits and pieces of rules and laws. So that is why they have rules. So rules are easier to amend. So if any change happens in budget or anything you have to change, you will just change the rules. Act में there are major provisions. One of the most complicated acts in India is Income Tax Act. One of the most complicated acts. That is why we CAs are in business. Because we know this. अगर ये चला गया, one source of revenue will go for us CAs. ठीक है? So let us begin with Income Tax Act. I will take you through the process. Please bear with me. I am going to take you through the process of income tax. It is very important you understand these things. Otherwise, थोड़ा difficult होता है. How income tax? See, you know income tax is levied on the income that you earn, not your revenue. Okay, this is clear. Okay, you cannot shift the incidence, you cannot shift the burden. Okay, this is also clear. So how income tax works is, I'll tell you. What is the financial year here in India? 1st April is the financial year. 1st April to 31st March. What is the current financial year which is going on? Current financial year going on is 1st April 2021, which will end on 31st March 2022. ठीक है? Yes or no? What is the next year? 1st April 2022 to 31st March 2023. Simple है, बहुत easy है, very simple. Slowly we are going. One bit and piece we are picking up, we are studying, we are analyzing and we are keeping up. Now, the income which you earn in this year, entire year, the income which you earn in this entire year will be taxed. Yes or no? Yearly tax you have to pay. Yearly your income is, checked and assessed. This year in which you earn the income, the year in which you earn the income is called as, now I know English में it doesn't make any sense, but yes, अभी है ऐसा, is called as previous year. समझा? It is called as previous year. The year in which you earn the income is called as previous year. इसको previous year बोलते. Now, when you earn the income, what happens after we give a test of 2 hours? उसके बाद checking होता है ना? After the entire duration. So let's say your mains paper, you have 9 papers, including the language papers in mains and all. So after you give the entire exam, then papers go to checking and then checking starts and then result comes, right? Similarly, after you earn your entire income in 1 year, उसका checking होता है. Who checks? Income tax department will check. ठीक है? Who checks? Income tax department will check. Income tax department, मतलब the administration of income tax, when we say income tax department, ultimately is controlled by finance ministry. Finance ministry under there is a board called CBDT. It is called as CBDT. What is the board? What is the full form, sir? Central, see English, Board of Direct Taxes. Central Board of Direct Taxes, CBDT. Not only income tax but all direct taxes are governed by Central Board of Direct Taxes, CBDT. इतना समझा? Okay. This year is called previous year, the year in which income is earned. So if I earned income, let's say in the year 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020, then that becomes my previous year. Okay? So this year I am earning income, this is previous year. Next year also I will earn income, next year is also previous year. But this year's income will be checked next year, yes or no, because I will be earning till the last day of the year. उसके बाद what I will do is, see, I will take a paper, I will write कि मैंने इतना कमाया, I have earned XYZ rupees, I have earned 200 rupees, I have earned 300 rupees, I have earned this much, this much, this much. Whom I will submit the paper to, कि see, this is my income, I have earned this much. Income tax department, CBDT के अंडर आता है income tax. This is a very high level body, right? I will submit that. They will check yes or no. बराबर है? They will check. Can I say they will assess my income calculation? Can I say they will check my income calculation, examine my income calculation? When they will do? In this year or second year? Second year, because I am to earning till 31st March 2022. उसके बाद I will sit, I will make my calculation and I will call CBDT and I will give them, call IT department and I'll give them. Then they will check. So checking will happen in this year. ठीक है? Can I say assessment is happening? My income is assessed, English, and this is called as assessment year. This is called AY, this is called PY. Right? Now quick question. 1st April 2021, 31st March 2022. I am earning income in this year? Yes sir. That becomes my previous year. Can I not say this year, 1st 21 to 31st March 22 is the assessment year for last previous year? Sir, क्या बोल रहे हो? क्या confuse कर रहे हो sir? Can I not say that 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2022 is also the assessment year for the income earned in 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021? है ना? ठीक है, simple. 1st April 21 to 31st March 22. So any year in which you earn income, you might be employed for 10 years. So all 10 years, that is known as previous year. But the year in which your income is assessed is called the assessment year. So see why it is called previous year, I will tell you. Because income tax department के लिए this year is not relevant, this year is relevant. Because यहाँ पे you are checking which year's income you are checking, previous year's income. So यहाँ पे if you are checking income, this becomes the assessment year. So इसका previous year क्या होगा? 1st April 20 to 31st March 21. उसमें you will be earning income. So let's say I am working since 5 years. So when I started working first year में, first year was my previous year, next year, second year was my assessment year for the income earned in first year. Second year was my previous year, then third year was my assessment year for the income earned in second year. Third year I earned income in third year also, so third year was also my previous year, but assessment year was the fourth year for income earned in third year. I also earned income in fourth year was my previous year, and fifth year was my assessment year for income earned in fourth year. I also earned income in fifth year was my previous year, and sixth year was my assessment year for income earned in fifth year, and so on and so forth. समझा? So ideally 1 year is both a previous year and assessment year. So assessment यहाँ होगा, ठीक है? So normally 30th June होता है deadline, या sometimes it is extended also, ठीक है? So let us not go too deep कि उसके पहले you have to give your return. Now I told you पूरा साल you will earn the income, very good, very good, very good, very good. You earn next year में, next financial year में, what you will do is you will sit, you will do your calculation. हाँ, calculator लेके बैठोगे, CA के साथ बैठोगे, that is why we are in business, है ना? So लेके बैठोगे and you will say कि मेरा income XYZ है, मेरा. So let's say you have various sources of income. Can I say you will have various sources of income? If you are salaried, you will have salary income. Let's say you also have a house which you have given on rent, you will have uska income. You won a lottery, you will have uska income. You have invested some money in bank deposit, uska interest income will come. Different kinds of income होते हैं normally. ठीक है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम वर्किंग समवेयर, आई गेट सैलरी इनकम, आई एम टीचिंग हियर ऑल्सो, सो यहाँ से भी आई गेट प्रोफेशनल इनकम, राइट. different type of sources of income. ठीक है. You will make a list. So let us make a list now. क्या है लिस्ट? क्या लिखोगे इधर? अमाउंट लिखोगे इधर, ठीक है. दिस विल बी द अमाउंट. बिल है ना, बिल जैसा है. यहाँ पे यू विल राइट, व्हाट यू विल राइट? इनकम फ्रॉम सैलरी, ठीक है, दैट इज वन. सेकेंड, इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी. हाउस प्रॉपर्टी मतलब योर रेंटल इनकम, रेंट पे जो दिया है आपने. इनकम फ्रॉम, इफ यू हैव अ सेपरेट साइड बिजनेस ऑल्सो, मेनी पीपल हैव बिजनेस ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग along with their regular job, they have investing business, investing salary, investment business, salary, house property business. This I will explain, don't worry, this I will explain. इस पे तो टाइम जाएगा. एंड जो इसमें नहीं आता है, so these are the actually these are the categories which are mentioned in Income Tax Act. Okay, these are the categories mentioned in Income Tax Act. So Income Tax Act says कि अगर इसमें भी नहीं बैठ रहा है, इसमें भी नहीं बैठ रहा है, this is also not there, this is also not. If your income, whatever you are earning, is not falling in this, I'll give you example. You won KBC prize. Is it salary? Is it your salary? No. Is it your rental income from house property? No. Is it your business or profession? No. Is it your capital gains? Sir, हमें capital gain ही नहीं पता है. But I am saying no. ठीक है? No. I will tell you what is capital gains. That requires a separate discussion. Capital gains. So that is why Income Tax Act says कि let us call it other sources. So anything else that you earn, anything else that you earn. Inherited income होता है. Your family में someone elder dies, you get property. Inherited income. You won horse race, you won betting, you did gambling. See, it is all illegal, legal. Income Tax Act doesn't care. If you have earned an income, show it. ठीक है? So you will take a list of paper कि I earned let's say 1 lakh from salaries, 50,000 from house property. I have a separate business which gives me 2 lakh rupees. Capital gains I made again 50k rupees. Other sources I earned 20k rupees. ठीक है, तो ये कितना होगा? 2, 3, 4, 420. वाह, वेरी गुड. क्या फिगर लाया सर आपने. ठीक है, 4 होता है, 2, 3, 4, 420. सीए ऐसे ही होते, 420. ठीक है. In further lectures I will tell you how complicated Income Tax Act is and how CAs help unravel these things. Are you understanding? Is it simple? You are sitting at home, chilling, enjoying, right? Drinking Coke. ठीक है. Income from salary, income from house property, income from business profession. These are the, so these Income Tax Department call, or Income Tax law calls these as 5 heads of income. These are called as 5 heads. Headings है ना basically. 5 heads of income. इन सब के अंदर, you know, in each and every one of those heads, different calculation methodologies are mentioned, and it will take one at least 15 days, 20, 25 days to go through the laws for this one head. So it is huge. Income Tax Act is huge. It is big. It is complicated. This one head, it will take any normal person 15-20 days to read and go through all the provisions. Business profession का income कैसे calculate करते हैं, how to calculate house property income. ठीक है. So in fact, in CA course, we have this as a subject. Direct tax is one subject of 100 marks. Indirect taxes is one subject of 100 marks at both CA inter-level and CA final level. Inter-level is the medium level. So CA you have entrance, inter and final. So inter-level में भी direct indirect tax papers होते हैं, final level पे भी होते हैं. Inter-level पे the thing is कि थोड़ा basic पूछते हैं. Final level पे तो पूरा खत्म. Game over in the final. CA final is very tough, trust me. CA final is tough, man. The way I used to study, right? So I used to practically study for 16 to 17 hours every day for CA final, and I honestly, every CA student, almost every CA student goes through this, so I am not a special one or special category. So what happens after CA inter, you start your articleship, internship. So you have your job going on. Good thing is you start earning and very less money, yeah? Not as a 10, 10,000 rupees, 5, 8,000 rupees milta. You start earning, plus your job is very, very hectic. मतलब 10-12 hours तो ऑफिस में, ऐसा नहीं कि 10 बजे जाओ 5 बजे निकल जाओ. No. You have to go early, you have to leave late. Plus you have your CA classes for final, because inter के बाद you start your articleship, and 1 year before final you start your classes also, 1 year के class होते हैं. Plus you have college for those of you, for those who are doing simultaneously with degree. So I did simultaneously. So my BCom and my CA went simultaneously. And 99% students do that. Unless there are exceptional reasons कि CA late decide किया and all. So I gave my CA entrance along with my 12th standard. Then CA inter in my 12th के बाद immediately, 1 year after CA entrance. And then I started working in my first year, BCom. I have done BCom. And later on I did MCom. So first year वो हो गया and articleship चालू गई. So by the time my third year came, I was almost 1 year away from CA final. So I joined my classes and CA final का पढ़ाई किया. So I used to manage, I नहीं, every person, at least in metro cities where you know there are big articleship firms, big companies providing articleship. Every person has to manage college, CA final classes and office simultaneously every single day. So I used to leave home at 5 a.m. and I used to go to office and all, everything used to happen, and I used to reach home at 12:01. So 3-4 घंटे सो के again you next day. Very strenuous. Sir, फिर भी आप UPSC कर रहे हो? हाँ, forget that. 5 heads of income. ठीक है? These are 5 heads of income, right? This list, अच्छा, this 420K पे लेट्स से इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट से इसके आपको जितना भी इनकम आएगा उस पे 10% टैक्स बनना है. ओके 10% टैक्स. हाउ मच इज द टैक्स? 42,000 इज द टैक्स. ओके, सो यू विल आल्सो पे द टैक्स along with this. How much tax are you paying? Is it 420? No, 420 is what you have earned. उस पे 10% tax you are paying. 420K. ठीक है? 42,000 tax when you pay. This calculation would also be maintained here. 10% into 10%, 42K. This is my tax payable. Okay, this you will give to the government and you will pay 42,000. Government will check it. If government finds any problem, any discrepancy, government will ask you for documents. If you submit the documents and government is satisfied, government is happy, you are happy, 42,000 is correct. If government is not satisfied, or if you agree कि there has been a mistake, I have under calculated this, अरे ये 50,000 नहीं था, 5 लाख था, so you will have to pay further tax with some penalty or interest. If government thinks कि it is less, ये नहीं आना चाहिए, it should be 40,000, government will refund you the money. So money जाता नहीं है, but whatever is correct, if more is required, you have to pay. If you have overpaid, then you will get the refund. And even income tax department will give you interest. उस पे अगर लेट होता है रिफंड में, so they will give you interest. And आजकल तो everything is computerized, so everything happens very seamlessly. This document is called as, what is it called? This document is called as income tax return, ITR. Now don't take the meaning of English, normal English meaning of return literally. Return is something which is a document, is a recorded document. So income tax return is this. So if when I tell you that I want to file my income tax return, which means what? I want to file my calculation, my declaration for the income earned in the previous year to the income tax department along with tax payment. And फिर they will check, they will scrutinize. कुछ problem होगा, they will call you. Settle होता है तो अच्छी बात है. If you also stay adamant on your position, they also stay adamant on their position, then it goes to litigation, then it goes in courts. ठीक है? Did you understand income tax return? Did you understand the 5 heads of income? I hope it is very clear. Now we come to the 4th head of income, which is special. Capital gains. कुछ है नहीं इसमें capital gains में. What are capital gains? For that we need to understand what is the meaning of the term capital asset. What is capital asset? Do you know what is asset? उसको इनकम टैक्स वाले कैपिटल एसेट बोलते हैं, ठीक है. Capital asset, we know, right? Asset creating expenditure, bridge and all, anything that gives you benefit for more than a reasonable amount of time for long time is a capital asset. Yes or no? Is an asset. Income tax वाले उसको capital asset बोलते हैं. Okay, fine. There is a list of things which are not considered to be capital assets and all, fine. Now, imagine you bought a land in 1990s at 1 lakh. You bought a land at 1990s for rupees 1 lakh. ठीक है. Today, will the value be 1 lakh or more than 1 lakh or less than 1 lakh? Mostly it will be more than 1 lakh. If some government litigation happens, then the value will go down because nobody is interested to buy that. But don't you think land prices are constantly increasing? Yes. Okay. You purchased a flat for 35 lakh rupees 5 years ago. Today, if you go to sell, will you get less than 35 lakh rupees or more than 35 lakh rupees? More than 35. Aren't you making a profit from this sale? Yes, we are making a profit. We are making a profit from sale of capital assets, and that profit is called as capital gains. Samjha? We are making a profit from sale of capital assets, and that profit is called under income tax law as, under income tax act as, capital gains. Capital gains do not happen regularly, do not happen frequently, normally of a larger amount. Shares, people buy shares and sell shares. So some people buy shares and hold them for a long time. Some people sell the shares immediately the next hour also. Okay? That is why capital gains are divided into two. Short-term capital gains, STCG बोलते हैं इसको, and long-term capital gains. So when we speak about capital gains tax, it is nothing but a part of income tax. Capital gains, जो fourth heading है. First heading was income from salary, second heading income from house property, third heading income from business profession, fourth heading income from capital gains, fifth heading is income from other sources. So short-term capital gain and long-term capital gain. Sir, how to decide whether it is short-term or long-term, and why? What is the relevance of this? So it depends on the period during which you hold the capital asset. Today you bought the land, tomorrow you sold the land. Very short term, na? But capital gain होगा, possible है. You bought the land for 50 lakh rupees, you sold it for 55 lakh rupees. 5 lakh rupiya capital gain. Okay? So depending on the duration on which you hold the assets, it is divided into long term or short term. इससे ज़्यादा you don't need to know. Only thing I will tell you is that for different assets, different time periods are prescribed. So some assets might become long term after holding for 1 year. Some assets might become long term after holding for 2 years. Some assets might become long term after holding for 3 years. Minimum 1 year hai. But shares, so land and building normally you hold for 3 years and more. But shares, normally people sell it within 1 year or 2 years. So uske liye criteria alag hai for long term and short term. Sir, but why long term and short term? Because the taxation is different. Short term capital gains taxes are taxed differently. Long term capital gains taxes are treated differently. ठीक है, इतना ही पता होना चाहिए. 2018 budget announcement पे question आया था in the mains paper. What are the changes brought about in dividend distribution tax and long-term capital gains tax? वो budget specific था, very specific to the budget. We cover that in our budget series. So next year when budget will come, we will be there. Right? So वो budget series था, we do that, and तभी I will explain the details between dividend distribution tax, वो सब क्या. But I hope this is clear. Capital gains, sale of capital asset पे whatever profit. Sir, if loss happens, then what happens? Then no capital gains. Then it is not a gain anymore. Then no tax. See, tax is always on something that you earn, something that increases your bank balance. So is loss increasing your bank balance? No. You paid 50 lakhs, you got 49 lakhs. So 1 lakh loss, it is not increasing your bank. You sold it for 70 lakhs. Yes, it is increasing your bank balance. It is your capital gain. Now, did you hold the land for a long term or a short term? Depending on the criteria in the act, we are not getting there. Sir, long term. Sir, long term capital gains tax. Sir, short term capital gains. Okay? You must be reading about Vodafone case and CAIRN case in news. That is based on capital gains. Two cases, two very famous cases. I think this would be inappropriate to discuss the cases because we have just started with the chapter and it is fairly advanced. So I'll just write the names. If you want, you can try to read. Interest hai and you can see videos, जो explain करते हैं ये सब, which is fine. Vodafone case. This is not Vodafone का other. Vodafone is involved in various other issues also. हाँ? So Vodafone case ये taxation वाला case है. AGR वाला case नहीं है. Vodafone AGR का case नहीं है ये. And KN Energy. So basically what happened is as per tax law something was XYZ is not taxed. I mean it is tax is not applicable on that law. But after 2 years Government of India passed a law saying that one thing which you did 2 years ago जिस पे तभी tax नहीं था, that is now taxable with effect from 2 years ago. समझा? Retrospectively पहले से tax होगा. So all those people who had engaged in that activity or who had engaged that type of income, even though it was not taxed earlier, it was legally not taxed earlier, now we are saying कि since 2 years, since 3 years, since 10 years we will tax you. That is called as retrospective taxation. तो इन दोनों में similar problem है, read about them, but if you don't understand then just forget. That is called as retrospective taxation. समझा? Retrospective taxation. Now we are into income tax. We know about income tax return. कैसा होता है income tax return? Can we see income tax return? ऐसा होता है, your income है, let's say here you calculated your income 4,20,000 suppose, उस पे टैक्स लगेगा, उस पे सेस लगेगा, उस पे सरचार्ज लगेगा, and then finally total. So this much you have to pay. Total मतलब इन तीनों का total. This much you have to pay. This will be applicable on this. This will be applicable on this, and this will be applicable on this. Right? So how does this tax system work? I told you in the previous example कि 4,20,000 हो गया, 10% flat tax you will get. You will be taxed at flat 10%. Okay, fine. Now Indian tax system, Indian direct tax system, Indian income tax system is progressive in nature. Is what? I'll tell you how. See this, how the income tax system is in India is structured. So if you are earning between 0 to 2,50,000 rupees, no tax, no income tax. If you are earning between 2,50,000, 1 rupee to 5 lakh rupees, I'm just giving examples, 10% tax. If you are earning 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees, 20% tax. If you are earning 10 lakh rupees onwards, more than 10 lakh rupees, infinity, 30% tax. Okay? Now I will explain you how the tax rates work. Okay? So if your yearly income which you earned in the previous year, yes or no? Income which you earned in the previous year, if your yearly income is 0 to 2,50,000 rupees, you will not have any tax. Okay, very good, no problem. तो यहाँ 0 हो जाएगा. If your yearly income earned in the previous year is 250 to 5 lakh, then 10% हो जाएगा. If it is this and 10 के ऊपर 30%. Now how the slab system works is, how much was our income? 4,20,000. ठीक है? So will it fall in this slab? Yes sir, it will fall in this slab. ठीक है? But entire 4,20,000 will not be taxed at 10%. You will get the benefit of this. So 250, so 420 आपको मिला है ना income. So up to 250 no tax, remaining पे 10% tax. ठीक है? Up to 250 zero tax. So 420 में 250 तक zero tax लगेगा and then remaining पे you will have 10% tax. It's okay if you don't understand. The point being, can you notice here, the important point here is, Can you notice here that as the income is increasing, your tax rate is increasing? See, if it was a flat rate of 10%, what would have happened? Flat rate of 10% है, क्या हो रहा है? You are earning 1 lakh rupees. How much is the tax rate? 10,000 rupees. You are earning 5 lakh rupees. How much is the tax rate? 50,000 rupees. Is the tax increasing? Yes. Is the rate increasing? No. This is very important for you to understand. Very, very, very important. Are you getting this? What I'm saying? When you have 10% flat tax, this is flat 10%. When you earn 1 lakh, 10,000 rupees. When you earn 5 lakh, 50,000 rupees. Is the tax increasing? Is the tax collection increasing? Yes. Is the tax rate increasing? No. So your tax amount is increasing, but your tax rate is not increasing. Now tell me, is the burden increasing? Yes or no? Is the burden increasing? Yes or no? Is the burden increasing? Yes or no? The burden is not increasing. Why? Because 10% of your amount is kept aside no matter what. Burden is not increasing. You are earning 5 lakh, उसमें का 10% गया, बचा कितना? 90%. You are earning 1 lakh, 10% गया, बचा कितना? 90%. Your burden is not increasing. So someone who is earning 1 crore, he also has a burden of 10%. Someone who is earning 10 rupees, he also has a burden of 10%. 1 rupiya उसको देना है, 10% burden. Right? Rate is not increasing. So burden is not increasing. Burden is the same. But that cannot be said for this thing, for our laws. Yes or no? For our laws, that cannot be the same. That cannot be said. That cannot be the thing. Sir, why? Your tax rates are increasing. So if you are earning more than 10 lakh rupees, you have to part away with 30% of your tax income. If you are earning 5 lakh rupees, suppose, you have to part away with only 10%. So if your pizza is big, you will have to give major chunk of that pizza. If your pizza is small, one small morsel you have to give. Your burden is increasing, yes or no? Is the burden increasing with your increasing income? Yes. That is called as progressive system of taxation. Direct taxes are progressive in nature. So can we say कि, to be very honest, जिसका जितना capability, whose capability is how much, utna tax, that much tax he has to pay. If you are poor, let's say you are earning 50,000 rupees, no tax, up to 250, no tax, don't worry, save money. The moment you start getting richer, burden falls on you, 10%, oh 20%, oh 30%, I'm falling down. Burden is falling on you, right? But can I say the more I work hard, the more I earn money, the more I have to pay tax? Yes. This is the redistributive function of taxation. Taxes help in redistribution. See, so the government is collecting more money from the rich and less money from the poor, yes or no? But when the government is collecting more money from the rich, what is the government doing of that money? Government is giving it to poor for subsidy schemes, etc., social justice. So this is the redistributive function of direct tax. Any tax. Taxation helps in redistribution of income. समझा? ठीक है? Okay? Okay. Now tell me, you go to McDonald's. You eat with your family worth rupees 1,000. 1,000 का bill आता है. उस पे GST है. On that GST will be applied. 1,000 rupees bill GST would be applied. Let's say GST applied is 150 rupees. Okay, how much will they charge from you? 1,150 rupees. You will shell out 1,150 rupees. Is it okay? Yes. How much is GST percentage? 15%. No? Okay. The person sitting beside you also gets his bill. He gets his bill as rupees 1000. Again, obviously 15% के हिसाब से, according to 15%, 150 would be the GST. 1150. He will also get the same bill because it is 1000. So he has also got the same bill. So GST would be the same on the bill, yes or no? Because this is on this. GST is applicable, like percentage is applicable on the amount. He starts crying. You are not crying, he starts crying. Why? For him this is costly. For you it is not costly. Why? How do you define something that is costly or not costly? One is definitely you are quality conscious. You compare quality with the quantity or quality with the cost. That is there, that everyone does. What is the other metric of whether something is costly or not? Your income. Yes or no? Your income is another metric. If you are earning 5 lakh rupees per month, 5 lakh rupees per month, would you mind buying a car worth rupees 8 lakh rupees? No. You are earning 5 lakh per month. You are working since 10 years. 8 lakh rupees ka car is nothing for you. But for someone who is earning only 1000, 2000, 5000 per month, 8 lakh ka car is a distant dream for him. So he will say, oh, this car is very costly, 8 lakh rupees. I would rather buy a 4, 5 lakh car. But you are earning 5 lakh rupees per month, you would say 8 lakh is very cheap car. I would rather buy a 20 lakh car. Don't you think? Yes. Everyone does this. Right? Similarly, when we go to restaurants, we say 300 rupees for one soup, very costly. Similarly, when you say, oh, 80 rupees for one soup, it is cheap. But how do you decide it is cheap? Depending on how much money you have. For someone, 80 rupees would also be very costly. For those who are daily earning 60 rupees, they cannot afford to eat 80 rupees soup one time. Are you understanding? So how do you decide what is costly or not? Depending on your income level. So he starts to cry and you are not crying. So what do you think? Whose income is more in this case? Is your income more or is his income more? Your income is more because you are not crying, because you don't feel 1750 will put a significant dent in your pocket. So your income is more. So let's say for the time being we call it rich case. Okay? And then his income is less. So he starts crying because for him 1150 is maybe 15 days ka salary. He earns 2000 rupees to 2300 rupees per month. Uska half he is paying in one McDonald's bill. So he starts crying ki 15 days salary gone. But you feel you are earning 5 lakh rupees. You don't even care about this. Right? So iska income is less. Can I call him as poor? Yes. Is the tax rate changing for you and him? No. Is the burden changing for you and him? Burden is less on you, don't you think? Burden is more on him, don't you think? Because his income is less, his burden is more. These are interrelated topics. Because his income is more, burden is less. Income is less, burden is more. Okay? Can I say the richer you get, the lesser your burden? You earn 10 crore rupees. Nothing. Even if you take 10,000 rupees, uska burden kitna hoga? 15% ही होगा. We are assuming same hai so that we are able to compare. So can I say as we get rich, in this case क्या था? As we get rich, our burden was increasing, tax rate was increasing. Your tax rate is same. Your tax rate is same. Can I say as the burden is as the income is increasing, my burden is reducing? As the income is reducing, my burden is increasing. Okay, can I say that? Yes. Right? See this. It's the same scenario. 10% है, 10 lakh, tax amount is same, tax amount is changing, or tax rate is not increasing, tax amount is increasing. But let's say in this case क्या हो रहा है? Income is increasing, burden is reducing. Income is reducing, burden is increasing. Yes or no? Very good. Okay, did you understand? See, the tax rate is such, your income is increasing, your burden is reducing, but here your income is reducing, your burden is increasing because the tax rate is same. So can I say can I say rich people have lesser burden, poor people have more burden because of this tax? Yes. So can I say, as you get rich, you don't earn more income. As you get rich, as you are getting rich, you are earning, the burden is increasing, yes or no? As you get rich, your burden is increasing. As you get rich, your burden is increasing. Here, as you get rich, your burden is reducing. Here, as you get rich, your burden is increasing. It is progressive. It is progressing with you. Here, the burden is going opposite direction to your income. Yes or no? Hence, this is called as regressive. Hence, this is called as regressive. Hence, this is called as regressive. Okay? Indirect taxes. GST is an indirect tax. Indirect taxes are regressive in nature. Direct taxes are progressive in nature. I hope you are able to get this. Direct taxes are progressive in nature. Indirect taxes are regressive in nature. We have a progressive system of taxation when it comes to direct tax. We have a regressive system of taxation when it comes to indirect tax. Is this clear? Very good. Okay, next. This is clear. So indirect taxes are regressive, direct taxes are progressive. Can I say more and more income? We discussed that more and more income power is taken away by the government. So can I say the more income you earn, the more burden lies on you? Yes, we have discussed this. So government is taking away your purchasing power in more proportion as your income increases. So earlier you used to earn 5 lakh rupees, let's say you were having 90% with you to spend in the economy. Now you only have 70% to spend in the economy. Okay? When you have less to spend, what will happen to inflation? Will it increase or will it reduce? When you have less to spend, what will happen to the inflation? Will it increase or will it reduce? When you have less to spend, it will increase or reduce. When you have less to spend, inflation will calm down. When you have more to spend, inflation increases because everyone is spending. Chalo price badhate. But you are not able to spend, he is not able to spend, he is not able to spend. Supplier will automatically reduce his price to match with demand. Okay? Hence these direct taxes are called as automatic stabilizers. Hence these are called as automatic stabilizers. Okay, these are called as automatic stabilizers. So direct taxes are progressive in nature, indirect taxes are regressive in nature. Okay, chalo. Now ये rate तो पता चल गया, this rate. Now this rate is different for men, women. Earlier they were different for men, women. This rate is different for, now it is same for men, women. But it is different for individuals and senior citizens and super senior citizens, 80 years above. It is different for them. So what do you think? Will super senior citizens have less rate or more rate? They will have less rate. So for them 0 to 5 lakh rupees, no rate, no tax, nil tax. ऐसा होता है. Because they are barely earning any income. They need that income because they don't have, they are retired and 80 years, they can't earn, they are not productive anymore. Some of them are, most of them are not. So that is why you will reduce the burden. ठीक है? Is it okay? What do you mean by assessment? Assessment means income tax officer will check your taxes and he will tell whether you have to pay more tax or less tax. ठीक है, चलो. Now this tax, where does it go? Who collects this tax? Income tax is collected by central government. Income tax, tax on income is collected by central government. Don't you think states should have a share in that tax? Because people are living in states, working in states, everything they are doing. Don't you think they should have a share in the tax? Yes. So central government shares a part of income tax to the state government. It collect कर लेता है all the income tax, उसका some part is shared to the state government, and this scheme is known as, this sharing of taxes, not only income tax, other taxes also shared, this sharing of taxes is called as alternate scheme of devolution. Alternate scheme of devolution, alternate scheme of devolution. ठीक है, devolution means to devolve, to give the power, to empower someone else. So states collect the taxes, income tax, not other taxes. States collect the taxes, income tax, and devolve some part of it, not all part of it, some part of it. Currently it is at 41%. 41%, so 100 rupees आएगा center के पास, 41 rupees will be given to the states, because they also need taxes, they also are spending, they also have revenue expenditure, है ना? And who gave states center the monopoly to collect income tax, right? Please read this in Lakshmikant in your center-state relation chapter. The genesis of alternate scheme of devolution is mentioned there. How it evolved, what was the earlier scheme, and how is the change scheme now? Which all taxes are there in the central pool, and which taxes are devolved to the states. This is there in Lakshmikant center-state relation. It is fairly simple. You will understand. Pakka. ठीक है? Now let's say tax rate. Tax comes to 42,000, ठीक है? Right? Total amount कितना है? What is the income? 4,20,000. Income is 4,20,000. Tax is 42,000. ठीक है? So कितना पे करना है? Don't say ये plus ये तो आपको मिला है. You have to pay only this 42,000. ठीक है? Now on this tax also some percentage is applied. On this tax also some money or something is applied. ठीक है? Let's say 20% इसका, किसका? Not income का. This is maths. Pay attention. This is basic maths. 20% of not income. This is 10%. Okay, this is 10%. Now on this tax you add another 20% on tax. Sort of tax on tax. Sort of tax on tax. 20%. कितना होता है? 8,400 ना? 50,400. Okay. Now this 50,400, you have to pay to the government. Then sir, what is this extra 8,400? This is called as cess. C-E-S-S. Cess. Sir, what is cess? Cess is something that is added on tax. Something that is added on tax. Okay? It is added in income tax. Now what is the difference between tax and cess? कि अगर वो होता तो you should increase this rate only. Directly you should increase this rate. Why are you taking tax first and उसपे cess additionally? Because tax goes to the government, and I hope I had told you the three accounts: public account of India, consolidated fund of India, and contingency fund of India. Tax goes to consolidated fund of India, and government can use this tax on any expenditure it wishes. Cess is collected for a specific purpose, for a specific time only. Cess is collected for a specific purpose for a specific time only. I'll give you example. Secondary and higher education cess. So this is collected on tax. Tax के ऊपर. See, this 20% is on tax. So the more your tax, the more the cess. And when is more your tax, the more you earn. So this is also progressive. Secondary higher education cess. You know, now to subsidize medicine prices, medical cess was also collected for some time. Okay, agricultural and infrastructure development cess is also collected now. Since the last budget, agricultural cess is collected. So this increases your tax by a small amount. And normally it is not 20%. This is just a random figure. Normally it is somewhere around 5-10% होता है normally. Agricultural cess is 4%. It's very small. This is just to give you an example. ठीक है? समझा? Okay. What is the difference between cess and tax? Tax can be used for general purposes, cess can be used for specific purposes only. Tax goes to Consolidated Fund of India. Tax goes to Consolidated Fund of India. Cess mostly goes to Public Account of India. Mostly, there are some cesses which go to Consolidated also, but cess mostly goes to Public Account of India because it has to be used for specific purposes. So authorization from Parliament is not required. In Consolidated Fund of India, something goes every year. Budget is passed, permission is taken from the Parliament. Ki, sir, this year we are going to spend this much money. ये पूरे साल में we are going to spend. We are going to use this much of tax money, this much of disinvestment money, this much of borrowing. That is the plan. That is the budget. But when it is in Public Account of India, already authorization दिया हुआ है. You can use it. You want, but since it is cess, you have to use it only for specific purpose. So if I tell you it is agricultural development cess, then it will be used for agricultural development. Yes or no? Simple. Third thing, those who are super rich, 50 lakh के ऊपर कमा रहे हैं, 1 crore के ऊपर कमा रहे हैं, they have additional tax. They have additional tax, and that additional tax is called as surcharge. That additional tax is called as surcharge. It is only for super rich. 50 lakh plus per annum, 1 lakh plus per annum, that is also called as surcharge. So tax, surcharge and cess, these are the three terms which you should know. Tax, surcharge and cess. ठीक है? Or if government tomorrow wants to penalize something, so उस पे भी surcharge लग जाएगा. ठीक है? We are talking about income tax now. So income tax की बात चल रही है यहाँ पे. Now we discuss this की the tax rates which we discussed. Now these are separate. I told you for younger people and older people and super senior citizens. These are separate for individuals like us. Separate for companies because companies also earn profits. खर्चा करने के बाद whatever remains is profits. ठीक है? Trusts, there are trusts also who run businesses. There are cooperative societies also or cooperatives also. ठीक है? There are universities also. There are temples also which which earn a lot of income. There are so many types of institutions, don't you think? सबके लिए rates अलग है, सबके लिए taxation methods are different. Just imagine the heads which we discussed. These are different for, the heads are same, but in this, the process of assessment is different. The process of calculating income tax is different for each of these. Partnership firm होता है, partnership होता है, 4-5 people come together, they make a partnership firm. उनका taxation is different. ठीक है? We are doing income tax. We have just started with income tax. ठीक है? I hope this is clear. I hope इतना clear है. Okay? Very good. Now, I will ask you one question and I will give you 1 minute. You think and tell क्या है वो? You think and tell what is it? What is the meaning of tax expenditure? What is the meaning of tax expenditure? Tax expenditure मतलब क्या? What is the meaning of tax expenditure? Try to recollect. We have discussed this in the past year question. In the past year questions series, we have discussed this. What do you mean by tax expenditure? All the discounts, benefits, concessions, exemptions given by the government is called tax expenditure. ठीक है? For example, if you have taken an education loan on yourself, you are earning also, you are working somewhere, you have taken an education loan, उसका जो interest होता है, that you can reduce from whatever income you get. So for example, you earn 3 lakh rupees per annum, ठीक है? Suppose interest per annum 12 months का interest comes to let's say 50k rupees. So income tax department से कि 3 lakh पे नहीं 250 पे भर दो, since you have taken interest, आपका खर्चा है वो, right? All kharchas are not allowed. Always remember, all expenses are not allowed to be deducted. There are some expenses list दिया हुआ है, those are called as deductions. Those are called as deductions. ठीक है? They are deducted from your income to arrive at the taxable income. So this is your income, this you got. This is the deduction and this is your taxable income. So tax will be levied on 250 and not 3 lakhs. First term deductions. Sir, can you give any other example of deductions? There are many examples of deductions. If you donate to Akshay Patra Foundation or any other NGO which is registered with Income Tax Authority, donation, during COVID many people donated money. So that money, let's say you donated 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh यहाँ से reduce कर दो. That is allowed deduction, that is allowed as a deduction and pay tax on 2 lakh rupees. There are many deductions, right? Is this clear? Is this clear? Did you understand how income tax is progressive in nature, how direct taxes are progressive in nature, how indirect taxes are regressive in nature? Did you understand the concept of income tax return of previous year, assessment year? Did you understand the 5 heads? Did you understand how direct tax acts as an automatic stabilizer? Did you understand what is the alternate scheme of devolution? ठीक है? There are some incomes which are not taxed at all. Some incomes are not taxed at all. Don't worry, your income is not taxed. Okay? For example, biggest income which is not taxed is agricultural income. Very, very, very important stuff. Agricultural income. Agricultural income not taxed in India. The incomes which are not taxed are called exempt income or exemptions बोलते हैं उसको. This is exempt. Exemptions means that you are not liable or not supposed to pay tax on that income. There are various reasons for that. There are various type of exemptions. Okay. For example, salary of certain dignitaries, UN dignitaries, salary जो उनका है, they are not taxed. They are exempt. They are taxed somewhere else. They are not taxed in India. They are exempt. Agricultural income is not taxed. Imagine, farmer का income not taxed in India. This is exempt, and I want you to remember the section number also. Agricultural income is exempt under section 10(1) of Income Tax Act. This I want you to remember because this you have to mention in mains. कुछ भी हो जाए. You have to mention this in mains. कुछ भी हो जाए. Exempt income, agricultural income is exempt under section 10(1) of Income Tax Act. So there are act में sections होते हैं, उसमें subsections होते हैं. Then there are clauses, then there are sub clauses. ठीक है? So normally it is written 10, suppose 1. This is sub clause, sorry, clause, sub clause. ऐसे लिखते हैं. Section 10, subsection 1, clause 1, sub clause 4. Not important. Erase it. ठीक है? Is it cool? Agricultural income is exempt under section 10(1) of Income Tax Act 1961. Biggest exemption. Right? Now, this was all about income tax which we needed to know. Mainly income tax का introduction हो चुका है. You will learn, we'll do. In the next lecture, we are going to look at lot of things about income tax. We are going to look at some really complicated things. ठीक है? So income tax हो गया. Sir, what about wealth tax? So can I say this is Income Tax Act 1961? Yes. What about wealth tax? There is Wealth Tax Act 1957. Why wealth tax is levied? Wealth tax is a direct tax. Wealth tax is a tax on wealth. Wealth tax is a tax on wealth. ठीक है? It is a tax on wealth. गाड़ी है, बंगला है और क्या है? You know that dialogue. टैक्स है और टैक्स है. मेरे पास गाड़ी है, बंगला है, ये वो है और टैक्स भी है. Wealth tax. It is a tax on wealth. Sir, what do you mean by wealth? Wealth means flats, buildings, property, land, cars, etc. उस पे टैक्स है. ठीक है? The cost incurred in administration of wealth tax, income tax department officer salaries and all of that, did not justify wealth tax. So wealth tax was abolished. खत्म कर. Wealth tax was brought again. वापस आ गया. Wealth tax was again abolished. Okay. What is the current status? Wealth tax is not there. Current status is wealth tax is abolished. So when I gave my CA final in 2015, when I gave my CA final, we had wealth tax in our syllabus. Immediately next year, wealth tax was abolished. In 2015 end only, wealth tax was abolished. So ours was the last paper for wealth tax, and it was really good. Why? Because wealth tax was very easy. It gave marks. This is very difficult. Income tax act. ठीक है, ये 10 marks का होता था, and this used to be for 90 marks. So 90, 10, 90. Now there is no wealth tax. Sir, what about corporation tax? What is a corporation? What is a corporate? A company. Normal language में corporate is a company. Normal company है corporate, right? Income tax, when we calculate for companies, it is called as corporation tax. Income tax, when we calculate for companies, is called as corporation tax. So corporation tax is nothing but a type of income tax, but government, for the purposes of analysis, for the purposes of budgeting, for the purposes of financial management, divides the income tax, total income tax collected, into income earned from corporations and income earned from others. So this is others. Anyone else will come here, and only corporates will come here. So it is nothing but income tax. Income tax ही है, same है. Income tax ही है. ठीक है, समझा? I hope this is very clear. I hope you understand this. Okay, is it cool? This is income tax only. सिर्फ वो थोड़ा है change. Now what is tax expenditure? Tax expenditure is nothing but a sum total of deductions plus your exemptions plus any other concessions which are given. So you know, startups are given a lot of concessions because we want to encourage them. So we tell you for 3 years you will not have to pay any income tax, enjoy. So they are encouraged to start their own ventures, they are encouraged to start their business because they don't have to pay income tax. So more and more money can be earned and invested back in the business for growth, and business can be grown faster. ठीक है? Now don't you think this tax expenditure costs money for the government or money to the government? बहुत loss होता है in tax expenditure. There is a lot of loss, right? Now I am going to teach you something which is very important. Very important. Do you remember NK Singh committee recommendations? They said that total general government debt should be less than 60% of GDP, which means, can I say that debt to GDP ratio, which is what? Debt to GDP ratio is what? Debt upon GDP ratio, debt to GDP ratio, debt upon GDP should be less than equal to 60%. Yes or no? We have done this. NK Singh review committee. Similarly, there is one more metric, ki how much are you producing? Is this not what people are earning? Remember factor income method. People are earning this much GDP. To finance that, how much debt have you taken? This ratio shows that. Ki kitna borrowing kiya hai to earn this GDP. Similarly, this borrowing is our income, debt creating capital receipt. It is a debt creating capital receipt. Similarly, we also see how much taxes are we generating when we are, how much taxes are we collecting when we are generating this GDP. So if today GDP is 100 rupees, उसमें से tax कितना collect हो रहा है? Because GDP is 100 when people are earning income, otherwise there is no GDP. When there is GDP, people are earning income, so how much tax are we collecting? ये देखना पड़ेगा. That we have to see. That is measured by what? Tax to GDP ratio. Simple. Into 100. ये तो basic है अभी. This is called as tax to GDP ratio. Simple. Understood? Yes? No? Very good. Tax to GDP ratio है ये. ठीक है, simple. Tax to GDP ratio. Now you tell me, when it is a low tax to GDP ratio, what does it mean? What does a low tax to GDP ratio mean? It means either your GDP is very high Either your GDP is very high and it is not resulting in commensurate collection of tax, yes or no? GDP is increasing, GDP is high, but not resulting in a commensurate increase in tax. Tax to GDP low है आपका, ratio is low. It means your GDP is increasing, but tax नहीं बढ़ रहा है उतना, right? If tax to GDP ratio is very high, what does it mean? It means you are very efficient in your tax collection. 100 rupees GDP, oh, 20 rupees tax, very good. Now, our tax to GDP, now this tax to GDP ratio, this tax will have both direct taxes, indirect taxes, taxes collected by central government, taxes collected by state government. Yes or no? Simple. Right? So the combined total tax to GDP ratio, combined total tax to GDP ratio of India, central state government combined is around 16%. Only central government, if you take, it is around 10%. If you take the share of direct and indirect taxes, it is around 5 to 6% of direct taxes and same 5 to 6% of indirect taxes, both. So ऊपर नीचे होते रहता है, since independence direct taxes dominated, then indirect taxes dominated, then direct taxes dominated, and now again indirect tax collection has increased. And since 1 year, I think direct taxes have increased. So they are neck to neck. Now which tax to increase is better? What do you think? मतलब direct, see, tax to GDP ratio बढ़ाना है, yes or no? Because you want to collect tax, because you want to use it for the development, विकास के लिए use करना है. You have to increase tax to GDP ratio, yes or no? या reduce करना है tax to GDP ratio? You are government, you want to increase the tax to GDP ratio. So when you want to increase the tax to GDP ratio, you will find ways of collecting more and more tax. Which tax are you going to collect more? So if I tell you out of total 10% central government tax to GDP ratio, 8 is indirect tax and 2 is direct tax. Think and tell me whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Think and tell me whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Indirect tax proportion higher hai in your total tax collection. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's a very bad thing. Why? Because indirect taxes are regressive in nature. You want to minimize indirect taxes. Regressive hai wo. You want to minimize indirect taxes. Direct tax collection is where the chori lies. Yes or no? All the people who are earning a lot of income, they are not earning like they are not paying indirect tax. They are paying direct tax, na? Income tax, main income tax. So when main income tax hai, so you always prefer to collect more and more of direct taxes. Chalo, direct taxes are to be preferred. Yes or no? Direct taxes are to be preferred. Direct taxes are to be preferred. Now my question is, when inflation is rising, what will you do to taxes? Would you increase the tax rate or reduce the tax rate? When inflation is happening, would you increase the tax rate or reduce the tax rate? When inflation is happening, you would increase the tax rate, because in tax rate badega, less and less purchasing power is with the people. Less and less purchasing power is with the people, less and less spending they do in the economy, less and less spending they do with the economy, less and less demand leads to less and less prices, which means inflation will calm down, control down. So you will prefer to increase direct taxes or increase tax rate in inflation. Which taxes to increase, direct or indirect? क्या लगता है? What do you think? Which taxes to increase, direct or indirect? Again, direct taxes. Why? Indirect taxes are regressive in nature. You are not supposed to touch indirect taxes much because they put unnecessary burden on the poor. Yes or no? इतना समझा? Is this clear? Is the tax to GDP ratio clear? It is around 10% for central government collection. Both का collection is 16%. Both का. उसमें से share of direct and indirect is half. 5-6% होता रहता है, चलते रहता है. Now this tax to GDP ratio कितना बोला मैंने? Center state combined. This is how much? 16%. Center state combined. ठीक है, 16% है ये. Center state combined is 16%. डेनमार्क और जर्मनी का टैक्स टू जीडीपी रेशियो इज 40%. इधर दे हैव हाई टैक्स रेट्स, वो 10, 20, 30 we saw, और जीएसटी रेट्स 12, 15, 18%. Either they have high tax rates or they have high efficiency in tax collection. Don't you agree? They have high efficiency in tax collection. Yes or no? Right? There is a group of rich countries. There is a group of economically rich countries called OECD. Okay? There is a group of economically rich countries or economically advanced nations. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Okay? Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. OECD. It is known as OECD. This is an it is a group. It is an international organization. You will learn it in IR, International Relations, and so it is a group of economically advanced countries. Their average is 35%. Average tax to GDP ratio is of OECD countries 35%. So either the tax rates are more or tax they are collecting efficiently. In 99% of the cases, they are collecting taxes efficiently. Their tax rate is not much higher. We are taxing companies at the rate of 34-35%, which is amongst the highest in the world. Just imagine, 35% taxation is amongst the highest. It is not the highest, no doubt, but it is amongst the highest. Still, our tax to GDP ratio is a mere 16%. कहाँ है भैया? Where is the money? Where is the money going? I have already told you one answer, one reason. Where is the money going? You tell me. Where is the money going? Why is tax to GDP ratio so low? Now I want to ask you one question. What is included in GDP but उस पे tax नहीं है? I have given you example of one exemption. Agriculture income. Don't you remember? Agriculture income का GDP is added here because primary sector है. All goods and services produced in the economy, including agricultural goods तो है ही. All goods में आता है agricultural goods. So whatever farmers are producing, whatever price they are getting, whatever income they are earning, is calculated, counted in GDP. Base बढ़ गया. But tax is exempt. कम हो गया. Biggest reason of low tax to GDP ratio, agricultural income exempt. Agriculture है, green में बनाएंगे हम. GDP से टैक्स में नहीं आ रहा है. सेक्शन 10(1) एग्री इनकम एग्जेम्प्ट. Yes or no? Simple है? Is it cool? Is it understood? Very simple. One of the major reasons, see there are hundreds of reasons, we are going to discuss that. We are going to discuss why low tax to GDP ratio, but one major reason is income tax is counted in GDP but not in tax. Can I say other reason is tax expenditure also? Yes, because ultimately agri income is one of the tax expenditure. Na? Tax expenditure is nothing but tax deductions plus tax exemptions plus other concessions. So this is a tax exemption, which is a bigger part, which is a part of bigger tax expenditure. So tax expenditure is also one of the reasons. Tax expenditures are also reasons. Okay. Very important concept I am going to teach you. Tax to GDP ratio again. Here we go again. Tax to GDP ratio. If pay attention here, very important concept. If your GDP increases by 10% and tax increases by 10%. See, I am not taking the example of absolute figures कि 100 rupees से GDP बढ़ा तो tax भी 100 rupees से बढ़ेगा, नहीं. tax cannot increase by 100 rupees ना, क्या पूरा GDP 100 पूरा GDP tax में collect कर रहे हो? So if your income 50,000 से increase होता है, if your income is increased by 50,000, ठीक है, the entire 50,000 cannot go in tax. A proportion of it will go to tax, yes or no, right? So that is why I am talking about percentage. If GDP increases by 10%, let's say your income increased from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, double, then is your tax. Earlier you used to pay 5,000 tax, now you are paying 10,000 tax. Then your tax has also increased by double. So if your GDP is increasing by 10%, tax is also increasing by 10%. Can I say they are increasing in same proportion? Absolute amounts are different because tax is derived from GDP. Tax is a very small amount, GDP is a big amount. So if GDP increases by 5%, tax be 5% of that small amount, say if it increases, then can I say we are in sync? Yes. If GDP increases by 10%, but tax increases by 7%, problem. If GDP increases by 10%, but tax increases by 18%, oh, very good sir, party sir, party. Which means, you know why this happens, I'll tell you why this will happen. More and more people are falling in the higher category slab. ये maths है. More and more people are falling in the 30% category slab because they are starting to earn income, they are earning more income, more and more income is earned under the 30% category slab. Hence, here tax is increasing more than proportion to GDP. See, when your income rises from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, you are not paying any tax because up to 2 lakh 50,000 zero tax hai. So your GDP increases by 1 lakh, but your income doesn't increase. When you go from 2 lakh to 3 lakh, you pay minuscule tax. Your GDP increases by 1 lakh, but tax is very less. When you grow from 10 lakh, so when you grow from 10 lakh to 10 lakh plus, your GDP increases by 1 lakh, but your tax increases by a bigger amount. Yes or no? Because 30% is the burden now, right? So these things can happen. So this is no problem. Very good. This is so excellent tax GDP. This is an issue. Yes or no? Right? Now I am going to teach you one word which you should use every time we speak about tax to GDP ratio. Okay, is it cool? Very cool. Yes. That is called as, that word is called as buoyancy. Very important. B-U-O-Y-A-N-C-Y. Buoyancy. It's a very, very, very important term. Buoyancy. What is the meaning of buoyancy? The rate in which tax increases as a proportion to increase in GDP. Pay attention, if tax is increasing more than in proportion compared to increase in GDP, tax is highly buoyant. Tax is buoyant. Tax buoyancy is higher. If tax is increasing less than in proportion compared to the increase in GDP, tax is less buoyant, not buoyant. Tax buoyancy is less. So what do we want? Tax buoyancy to be higher or tax buoyancy to be lower? We want it to be as high as possible. So if GDP increases by 1 percentage point and if tax increases by 2%, tax is buoyant. Buoyant means overtaking the GDP growth. If GDP increases by 5 percentage point, tax increases by 20 percentage points, very buoyant. If GDP increases by 3 percentage points, tax increases by 1 percentage point, not buoyant, less buoyant. Okay, tax buoyancy. So I'll write it here also. Tax buoyancy. So when we say tax is buoyant or buoyant tax revenues, which means we are trying to raise our tax collection more than in proportion to increase in GDP. What is another reason of tax to GDP being lower? What do you think is another reason of tax to GDP ratio being lower? क्या लगता है? What do you think is another reason of tax to GDP ratio being lower? Chori, people are not paying tax, scams, right? So tax evasion, we call evasion होता है ना, tax की चोरी. that also results in lower tax buoyancy. Yes or no? So normally in budget, in budget they say that we are aiming for increasing tax buoyancy by catching the tax evaders. So when you catch the tax evaders, right? See, their GDP is already included here, but their tax is not coming because they are evading. So when you catch the tax evaders, their tax will also be included. Then GDP will not increase because it is already there, but tax will increase more than in proportion to increase in GDP. Tax will be buoyant. Tax buoyancy is low in this case, it is high in this case, and it is normal in this case. We are aiming for higher tax buoyancy always. Did you understand this? Very important concept, tax buoyancy. Okay? ठीक है? What did we do अभी तक? What did we do? We did income tax. Corporation tax is a part of income tax, so don't worry about it. Then we did wealth tax. 1957 we did wealth tax, which is abolished now, which is not there now. We saw that direct taxes are collected by the center but shared with the state in a scheme called as alternative scheme of devolution. We saw some keywords. We saw income tax return, previous year, assessment year. We saw exemptions, deductions, tax expenditure. We saw tax buoyancy. We saw tax to GDP ratio. Yes or no? Now, why is low tax to GDP ratio? You said that low tax GDP ratio is due to tax ki chori, theft of tax or not paying tax. Yes or no? So there are 3 levels. See, one is tax planning. What do you mean by tax planning? You take the legal recourse to minimize your tax. Sir, how to minimize tax? We are here, we are CS, we will tell you legally, everything legally. So I will tell you to invest in these shares. Iska interest is exempt, so you will earn money but you don't have to pay tax, so on and so forth. So legally, if you take or if you plan your taxes or if you plan your incomes and expenses in such a manner that your tax is minimized, your tax liability to the government is minimized as an individual or as a corporate, it is minimized, then it is called as tax planning. This is within the 4 borders of the law. Absolutely legal. Government encourages tax planning. Yes or no? Because government also doesn't want you to waste your money. Government wants you to plan your tax. One level above, if we go outside the law, little bit outside the law, little bit inside the law. One leg outside the law, one leg inside the law. It is called as tax avoidance. See, you are avoiding it. Okay? Avoidance means it has a not so negative tune also, but not so positive also. Planning is a very positive one. No? You are planning everything. Tax avoidance. You are saying ki, okay, you read the law, you say ki interpretation can be both ways. Ki I have to pay tax, I don't have to pay tax. Instead of taking a second opinion, you say ki I don't want to pay tax. Chalo, you are avoiding it. You are using loopholes in the law which are strictly not illegal. It's a grey area. It's a grey area. Strictly not illegal, but still, substance padke you realize that this is not true. The government did not intend for this. But you still say, nahi, but likha hai. So, that nature of escapism is here, tax avoidance. When you absolutely go outside the law, when you absolutely go outside the country also, sometimes, that is called as tax evasion. I hope evasion has a more negative connotation. Tax evasion. Tax evasion is you are evading arrest. Suppose, वो बोलते हैं ना कि thieves are evading arrest from the, or they have hidden, they are evading arrest, which means they are breaking the law. This is absolute. This is completely legal. This is absolutely illegal. Means not paying tax, black money and all, and this is grey area. So where do CAs come in picture? Here, here and here. हमको सब आता है, right? So it ultimately it is upon ethics of the person. Na? Any profession you go. Doctors also sometimes take money and promote the drugs which they haven't even seen or used. Ethics. Celebrities, we know they take money and do ads of products they are not using. Celebrities use fairness cream products. They promote fairness. All these comes on ethics. CA helping with tax avoidance तक फिर भी ठीक है. Tax evasion, ethics, and ethics are always sold for money. In front of money, there is nothing. ठीक है? And I'm talking about the majority of the people. Exceptions are always there. They have to be there. Exceptions are there for everything. ठीक है? Tax evasion, tax avoidance, and tax planning. Did you understand this? Yes or no? Very important, huh? Coming to income tax return and all, we'll just discuss a small concept here. So, when you earn your salary, normally what you have to do, you have to earn your salary for 1 year, your calculation you have to do, and then you have to submit to the government, right? What if you run away? What if you evade tax? There are so many salaried people in India. What if they run away? What if they don't pay tax? So government says कि instead of running behind crores and crores of salaried people, I will catch the employer. Sir, but why employer? I will tell the employer कि hey employer, monthly salary you are crediting to your employee's account, deduct tax, give it to me, and then give the salary to the employee. Are you getting this? I am giving an example. Instead of running behind salaried people, individuals, what will the government do? Government will say, employer has the responsibility of deducting the tax and paying the net amount to the account of the employee, and then that tax has to be deposited with the government. So every month your tax is deducted, monthly tax is deducted. Instead of paying the entire tax after the year end, every month you get a salary, जिसमें से tax has, out of which tax has already been deducted and paid to the government. So at the end of the year, you only have to pay 1 month tax. Last March month salary you will get somewhere around 1st April, 2nd April. You will have to pay tax of only April, or not even that. Employer will pay that also and give you the net salary. फिर then ऊपर नीचे something happens. Let's say in October you got a promotion. ठीक है? In October you got a promotion, your income got increased. So what difference you have to pay? That's it, nothing else. Even that is also paid by employer these days. Is it convenient for government? Yes. Is it convenient for you? Yes. Is it convenient for employer? Not really. But ठीक है, the employers have to do that, so they have to do that. So this particular thing, whatever I told you, is called as, see this, tax deducted at source. TDS, tax deducted at source. It is called as TDS, tax deducted at source. And I give you one example. TDS is cut from salary. TDS is also cut from other type of transactions. Okay, this is TDS, tax deducted at source. Are you understanding this? Are you getting this, what I am saying? TDS. So when I give my invoice to LevelUp, ki sir, I have given 10 lectures, these are my charges, because I am not employed here, I am not in an employer-employee relationship. Even if I was employed, TDS would be deducted by LevelUp, net salary credited to my account. But since I am a professional, I am a consultant, I work on a sort of consulting basis for teaching, I give my invoice to LevelUp. LevelUp, let's say I give an invoice for suppose 20,000 rupees. Okay? LevelUp will deduct tax paid to the government on that 20,000, and net payment given to me would be, let's say, 17,000. So at the end of the year, I don't have to worry that I have to pay tax. Now this, let's say after 1 month of 20,000 rupees, for the rest of the year I am unemployed. Okay? What will happen? I didn't have to pay tax because my saal ka income was less than 2,50,000. But LevelUp has already deducted tax from me and paid to the government. After the end of the year, I can tell the government, ki, see, I thought I will earn more than 2,50,000, but I did not earn. So on that 20,000 on which LevelUp has already deducted a tax and paid it to you, I wanted refund. Government will be more than happy to give you refund. Ki, take this. You can claim a refund. That is not a problem. Deficit tax you can pay to the government, extra tax you can claim refund. That is tax deducted at source. There are many transactions on which tax is deducted at source. What is the source? Source of your income is your employer, yes or no? Source of my income, my professional fees is LevelUp. So I get money from LevelUp. So they have to deduct tax. Normally क्या होता था? I would earn income, After the end of the year, I would sit, I would do calculation, I would pay tax. But now source pay it is going to the government and net payment is coming to me. So 17,000 I will get instead of 20,000, and that 3,000 is paid to the government. Now at the end of the year, I don't have to worry that I have to pay 3,000. If something more I have to pay, calculation mistake or anything else, some other income I earn on which tax is not paid, then I will have to pay extra. If let's say next invoice I give of 25,000, LevelUp forgot to deduct tax, so I will have to pay that. LevelUp will have to pay penalty on that. But let's say apart from that there is no other income the entire year, then मेरा tax नहीं कटना चाहिए था, my tax shouldn't have been deducted because I am in less than 2,50,000, nil tax. I can claim from the government कि sir, LevelUp has paid you tax, give it to me. That is refunded. But that refund will happen only at the end of the year. You cannot demand before the year because government will say, what if remaining months may you earn more income? Then again you will have to pay tax. So let us settle at the end. Settlement is done at the end. Refund excess. Okay, this is the provision for tax deducted at source. Did you understand this? Yes, no, very good. Okay. Did we see progressive system of taxation? Yes. Did we see regressive system of taxation? Yes. Did we see tax buoyancy? Yes. Did we see direct tax as an automatic stabilizer? Yes. Did we see 5 heads? Yes. Do we know the tax to GDP ratio? Yes. 16%, 10%, 5-6%, 5-6%. Do we know alternate scheme of devolution? Yes. Do we know tax expenditure? Yes. Do we know tax planning, tax avoidance, tax evasion? Yes. Okay. Is it understood? Is it fairly easily understood? See, I'll teach you one concept. See this. This is the tax rate and this is the tax amount. Okay. So as you increase your tax rate, your amount would increase or reduce. Today 10%, tomorrow 20%, your amount would increase. After a point, what will happen, the more you keep on increasing, the lesser the people would be willing to pay tax. They will start evading, they will start avoiding, they will leave their jobs because imagine 100 rupees you are earning and 80 rupees government is taking. They'll do something else. Okay? So ultimately, after a point of time, if you increase your tax rates, after a point of time, your tax amount, total tax collection would reduce. Okay, it makes sense because more and more people would be less inclined to pay tax. So what is the optimum amount of rate? This is the optimum amount of rate where your tax collection is maximum. Yes or no? This part. Tax collection is maximum and this is your rate, whatever is the rate. Right? This analysis was given by a person and this curve is named after that person and this curve is known as Laffer curve. L-A-F-F-E-R. Laffer curve. This is known as Laffer curve. Okay? See, as you increase your rates, your tax collection will go on increasing, but after a point of time it will reduce when you keep on increasing your rates. I think ये उल्टा हो गया ना? Sorry. This is the tax rate and this is the amount. That is what I was wondering कि ये कैसे हो गया? This is the tax rate and this is the amount. So as you keep on increasing your tax rate, your amount will initially increase, but it will then reduce. Okay? So when this will happen, at peak point you will have some tax which is the highest. If after this, if I keep on increasing my tax rate, my amount will eventually reduce. Reason being, people will start evading taxes. People will look for other job opportunities where the tax is not high, or people will simply not pay tax. This is known as, or many people would be ineligible to pay tax. So for example, if you start taxing people at 60% only for super rich, so more people don't reach that level of income also. So then also this thing will come down. This is known as Laffer curve. Very important, very interesting Laffer curve. I think this will be repeated in the future lectures again. I am not sure. In case it is not, then pay attention to this. This is known as Laffer curve. Did you understand the introduction to direct taxes, introduction to income tax? Yes or no? ठीक है. I hope you like this. I hope you enjoyed this. This is very, very, very important for you to know all these things. Right? Okay. Now, how to increase tax to GDP ratio? How to increase tax to GDP ratio? Just one last point of discussion. How to increase the tax to GDP ratio? ये जो आपका tax to GDP ratio है, how to increase? One, I hope you are able to tell, curb tax evasion and avoidance also. Second, tax agricultural income, yes or no? Tax agricultural income. Don't tax everyone, tax the rich farmers. They are earning crores of rupees per month. Tax them, tax agricultural income. Third, rationalize your tax expenditure, barabar, because that is tax lost. Rationalize tax expenditure. See, this is mains answer. Huh? This is mains answer I am writing. Ready made. Rationalize tax expenditure. What else? What else? Rationalize tax rates. Yes. Now tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. If you are 100 of there present in the class, if I tell you 60 of you have to pay tax, 40 of you don't have to pay tax, depending on income criteria, depending on any other criteria. So I will get tax from 60 people. If tomorrow I'd say 70 of you have to pay tax, 30% of you don't have to pay tax, what will happen? Tax will increase. What have I done? I have increased the number of people liable to apply, liable to pay for tax. Yes or no? Liable to pay tax. I have increased the number of people who are liable to pay tax, on whom tax is applied. Right? In case of indirect tax is a tax on goods and services. So tomorrow, if let's say today McDonald's burgers don't have any tax, उसपे GST नहीं है. Tomorrow burgers are taxed under GST. Will my tax collection increase? Yes, it will increase, because more people are coming in the tax applicability criteria. More people or more goods also are falling in the tax applicability criteria. This is known as tax net or tax base. Tax base is how many things are taxed in your economy. How many people are liable to pay tax in your economy? Evasion hoga, that is something entirely different. But are you liable? I will tell you one very good example. What is the limit of no tax? 2,50,000. Tomorrow, if I do this 0 to 1 lakh, what has happened? People earning more than 1 lakh up to 2,50,000 are now in the tax bracket, yes or no? If I do this nil, no tax ka 0 to 1 lakh, people earning more than 1 lakh up to 250,000 who were till today not liable to pay tax, now they are liable to pay tax. I have increased my tax net. You know, net hota hai fishing net. I have increased my tax net. I have increased my tax base. Similarly, in indirect taxes, the more number of things you apply the tax, your tax net and tax base increases. So these words are also very important: tax net and tax base. So widen or broaden, whatever, or increase. Widen your tax net and tax base. Similar words hai, if you ask me the difference. So tax base is more sophisticated, tax net is also used. ठीक है? Net has a negative connotation. Are you catching them in your net? ऐसा. Base is a positive word, net is a negative word. But ठीक है, both of them can be used. Widen your tax net and tax base. This is how you can increase your tax to GDP ratio. Is this clear? Are we fairly clear on this? Right? We have seen direct tax. We have started with direct tax, income tax. We have seen various concepts. Most important concepts are tax buoyancy, tax to GDP ratio, and progressive. Direct taxes are progressive and indirect taxes are regressive. So we'll stop here. We will take the next whatever we'll discuss in the next lecture would be one level advanced to this. This was just basic, this was just beginning, this was just introduction. Thank you so much. Please keep on revising. I'll see you in the next lecture.